Hello, my friends. Welcome to Construction Mastery. Insolvency. A sad topic, but a topic we must understand really well. And I say this because the construction sector remains the most significant contributor to the insolvency numbers. But what is insolvency? An insolvency is a state of financial distress in which a company or person cannot pay their bills as they fall due. It can lead to insolvency proceedings where legal action will be taken against the insolvent person or group, and assets may be liquidated to pay off outstanding debts. Assets could be, for example, investments, office equipment, machinery, real estate, etc. And these will be liquidated to pay off the outstanding debts. And by liquidated, we mean converting these assets into cash or cash equivalents and selling them on the open market. And before an insolvent company or person gets involved in insolvency proceedings, they will likely be involved in informal arrangements with creditors, such as setting up alternative payment arrangements. If this cannot happen, then unfortunately liquidation will be the next step. And in terms of insolvency in construction, insolvency of contractors is relatively common due to three main reasons. And these are, number one, we've got the low margins that the construction industry typically operate with. Number two, the high risk of project costs increasing. And number three, the constant cash flow and late payment issues. Okay, so we've just mentioned the first point, which was low margins. And this is really interesting. There was a survey done by Turner & Townsend in 2021, and they found that London was the 8th most costly global city in which to build. They asked a sample of firms to provide their profit margins on medium-sized commercial jobs. And it found that the UK had the lowest margins at 3.9%, followed by Australia and New Zealand at 4.5%, and North America at 4.6%. And then continental Europe stood at 6.1%. And the reasons for such low margins is because of the tough competition, which had pushed margins down. And this also meant that firms would often look to boost their earnings on jobs through other means, such as variations. And the pandemic has also made trading much, much harder. And due to the insignificant reduction in projects caused by uncertainty, competition for the limited work was extremely high, resulting in considerable margin reductions to shore up builders' pipeline of work. And at the other end of the profit spectrum, Africa had the highest profit margins at 12.1%, followed by South America at 9.2%, and Asia at 8.7%. Okay, sorry for going off a little bit off tangent. Let's understand insolvency a little bit more by going into it in more detail. I think it'll be really helpful to get to know this topic a lot better. So depending on how bad the financial state of a company or person is, there could be steps to be taken before insolvency proceedings. Companies, for example, may contact creditors directly and restructure debts into more manageable installments. Creditors are typically open to this approach because they desire repayment, even if the repayment is on a delayed schedule. And if a company plans on restructuring their debt, they assemble a realistic plan showing how they can reduce the company overheads and continue carrying out business operations. The business owner would then create a proposal detailing how the debt would be restructured using the cost reductions or other plans for support. The proposal would show the creditors how the business would produce enough cash flow for profitability and for profitable operations while paying its debt. And this would be the best option out of a bad situation and will allow companies to carry on trading. If this is a little bit too complicated, don't worry for now. I'll have a lot more videos coming up to explain terms like liquidation and bankruptcy so that you can fully understand insolvency and be able to advise anyone in the industry, which is always the aim. I think it'll be really helpful to now have a quick look at a famous insolvency case in the UK. And yes, you've guessed it. It's Carillion. So Carillion was Britain's second largest construction company. What happened was that after their accounts were signed off in March 2017, Carillion's finances then quickly unraveled. The company issued the first of 3 profit warnings on the 10th of July 2017, announcing £845 million of write-downs on 4 contracts, and then the resignation of the CEO. The share prices plunged by 39% as a result, and 5 months later, on January 15, 2018, the company was forced into liquidation with debts of more than 1.5 billion and only 29 million in cash in bank. So what went wrong for Carillion? So you may be asking yourself what actually went wrong for Carillion and how did they get into this position from being the second biggest contractors in the UK and one of the biggest in the world. So Carillion basically relied on large contracts, some of which were proved to be much less lucrative than expected. For example, the year before it collapsed, it slashed the value of these lucrative projects by 845 million. As its contracts underperformed, its debts soared to 900 million. The company needed 300 million cash injection, but the banks that lent the money previously refused to put more in. The government also refused to bail it out, and that left the company unable to continue trading, forcing it to go into liquidation. And one thing to note, and something to question, is why did Carillion go into liquidation and not administration? So administration aims to help a company repay debts to avoid insolvency if possible, while liquidation is the process of selling all assets before closing down the company completely. Carillion went straight into liquidation for two main reasons. Number one, it did not even have enough cash to keep trading during an administration process. And two, because the public services run by Carillion needed funding from the government to carry on, and the government said no. All right, that wraps up this video, and I really hope this served you well and helped you on your way to becoming your own construction master. Please also remember that the faster you learn, the faster you earn. And if you have any questions, feel free to DM me or email me at hilan@constructionmastery.com. I'm always happy to help.